Welcome to the Black Duck Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Wilkins. I'm excited to have you join me as I speak with a fascinating collection of folks, all of whom have in common that they've made a way for themselves by finding an intersection between thoughtful consideration and the tactile work of getting their hands dirty. This is an examination of intention, capability, and craft. It's where philosophy meets the blue-collar work ethic and where I find real value. We've been trying to reach you about your car's insurance. Oh, I'm just joking. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This week, man, we're dealing with one of the subjects they tell you not to talk about over at Thanksgiving dinner. And that means that this is kind of a religion-heavy podcast. And that's because my guest this week is Father Stephen Gadberry. He's a Catholic priest with the diocese here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and he's the parish priest over at St. Teresa's, which is a church and Catholic grade school over on the southwest side of Little Rock. So the first thing I want to say is, you know, this podcast is about people who make their own way, and there's many, many, many different ways to do that. And I totally understand, you know, that religion is a hot button topic for a lot of people, and that, hell, man, you know, maybe you got some beef with it. And that's fine. And I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything here. I've got my own opinions on stuff. But I'm really interested in how this guy is putting his life together. As a person who grew up going to parochial schools in St. Louis, this guy's kind of a breath of fresh air as far as a priest and a religious figure. Has a super interesting and, you know, to my experience, non-traditional background. And seems to really be coming to this with a lot of self-exploration, humility, and just some real-world knowledge about, you know, what life is like for regular, everyday people. Not existing in this ivory tower that I think far too often religious figures and especially religious authorities either place themselves in or are placed in by the people around them. And it's really, really hard to live up to something like that because, you know, we all fall short of the glory, as Lenny Kravitz once said in Behind the Music. But Father Stephen Gadberry is, if you go to his Instagram page, and we'll talk about this, he's like a self-described priest who curses and drinks cheap beer. He is a bow hunter. He's focusing a lot now on traditional archery. It's got to be one of the only rectories. I walked into this rectory, and like the first thing I see is 2 Euro-mounted Axis deer skulls, like one in full velvet and one hard-boned, really cool. He sat there and told me about how he was doing his own Euro mounts and how much time he takes with them and how meticulous he is. And then we talk a lot about intentionality and how he leads his life and what motivated him to go from being a farm kid in East Arkansas to over in Iraq as a veteran of the Airforce to then going to seminary and doing 8 years of seminary here in the States and going to Rome, Italy, and finding his way back to Arkansas and now working with a community that he's a part of now. Super interesting dude. Just, you know, I've only met him once and had a few dealings with him, man, but seems so well-intentioned, seems so honest and real about what he's talking about. And I bet you he's one of the only priests you're going to hear talk about Jocko Willink and doing CrossFit. And like right now, he's actually, as I release this, he's actually up in Colorado on an elk hunt. So super fascinating guy. I so enjoyed this conversation. He doesn't live that far from me, and I hope to get to hang out with him again sometime because I just love the way he's kind of looking at life and how it seems like he's actually walking the walk as opposed to just talking the talk. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this conversation with Father Stephen Gadberry. All right, and welcome back to the Black Duck Revival podcast. This week I'm here in Little Rock, actually kind of in my neighborhood. We're here in the south. I don't want to dox myself, but kind of on the southwest side of Little Rock, and I am at St. Teresa's, which is a Catholic parish and grade school. Or how high does the school go up to?
8th grade.
8th grade, yeah, so grade school. And I'm with Father Stephen Gadberry, who is, you might have seen him on Instagram. He's got quite a following, but he's like a self-described cussing, cheap beer drinking, kind of cross-fitting hunting priest, which seems very appropriate for these modern times. And yeah, I got him. He was generous enough to let me come and visit, a few days before you go on an elk hunt?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I was telling my my editor Brian, I was texting him. I was like, no podcast this week, man. But I was like, I'm about to go talk to this priest who's like hunts and does CrossFit stuff and all this. And he was like, man, that's a weird combination. I think because we both grew up in like parochial schools in St. Louis, and that's not what priests did. I mean, all the priests I knew were like old white hair men, who. There was one dude who had like a long beard and would drink beer and like go bowling and drink beer, and he was like maybe the youngest one. He was like 50.
Sounds like a cool dude.
He was all right, man. I never had him in class, but everyone loved him. But yeah, so like obviously there's all sorts of, kind of interesting or quote unquote non-traditional aspects about your life that we're going to get into. Maybe for me, one of the biggest things is, so like I was just telling you, I grew up in St. Louis. St. Louis is like an old city. It's an old Catholic city, settled by lots of people with strong ties to the Catholic Church. So like lots of Polish people, lots of Irish people, lots of Italians, right? Like I went to high school in a neighborhood called The Hill, which was like the Italian neighborhood. And so I grew up like, my idea of Christianity was like I was raised Lutheran and then went to Catholic schools. When did I start? 6th grade through high school. And so I was very familiar with it. And then when I moved down to Arkansas is when I was introduced to like kind of a different, kind of Bible Belt, Baptist, Foursquare, Church of Christ idea of Christianity, which was different to me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not like a huge Catholic presence comparatively in the state of Arkansas, but there are these havens, right? Kind of by Eureka Springs, there was like a bunch of Italians that settled up there, and so there's some parishes up there. And then here in Little Rock, I mean, they've always existed, but I would imagine nowadays it's probably heavily Latino influenced, right?
Yeah.
Especially like on this part of town.
Right. The great majority here, probably 95% of our people here. We got about 6,500, 7,000 people here in the church, and about 95% of those are Hispanic. So that's definitely the majority. Yeah.
But man, I don't usually go back and say like, where'd you come from? But it's probably appropriate on this one. So, you're originally from Arkansas, and we were just talking about it, but so you're from the Wynn area, which is northeast Arkansas. You said you grew up farming and from a farm family?
Yeah, man. Born and raised here in this great state. I love it. It's just a fantastic state. As you just said, grew up in Wynn, Arkansas, just south of Jonesboro, west of Memphis, there in the Arkansas Delta. A little small family farm, 200 acres. We had rice and soybeans, just hardworking people. Just came from a low-class working family. Every day you wake up and just put the hand to the plow, basically, like to use the scriptural, reference. But just every day was a grind. Man, some days sucked. Some days were just work. And but like the harder you work makes the fruits of your labors just taste even sweeter. And so that was kind of the theme of my life growing up. Grew up in a small, close family, and born and raised there. After graduating, from high school, went to public schools my whole life. Went to the military for a little bit. That's when I heard the calling, you could say. And 2008 is whenever I went to seminary. That's an 8-year process. 4 years in Louisiana, 4 years in Rome, Italy, and then been here for the last 6 years doing priest stuff.
Did you grow up Catholic?
Yeah. So born and raised Catholic. Every Sunday we wake up and go to church, and it was just a non-negotiable as a family. Something we all did. Like God was like he was in there, and it wasn't something like oh, do we want to do it or not? Like it was just a no-brainer for us. And so we God was right there in the center, and always grew up going to church.
Is there kind of a little bastion of Catholicism over there in East Arkansas too?
Yeah, down throughout East Arkansas, there's a lot of early German settlers that came over there and started farming, and usually the families would come, and basically a church would start around an extended family, and as you were laying out earlier, all sorts of different cultural backgrounds throughout East Arkansas, and also the River Valley, just west of Little Rock, between Little Rock and Fort Smith. A lot of Germans there.
And Germans are pretty much going to be Lutheran or Catholic.
Yeah. And then, as you mentioned, the Italians and a few different French pockets. But you said it perfectly. Just these families come, and these early immigrants have their communities, and I grew up in one of those communities.
Okay, yeah, man. There's another dude that's been on the podcast, and I meet so few Catholics down here that it stuck out of my head. This dude, Case in Short, who's got Bill Byers Hunt Club, and he actually lives in Memphis, about an hour away, man. But I can't remember. I think his kids go to Catholic school or something like that, man. But that's what I was wondering about there in East Arkansas. And that makes total sense, man. Like, you got agricultural families kind of following the travel routes and the rivers and everything. And yeah, because it is kind of a weird thing. Like, you got St. Louis, you got down in Louisiana, and then there's right in the middle is like this sweep of the Bible Belt, kind of more evangelical Protestant denominations. But anyway, so the hunting makes sense to me, right? But you told me that you didn't get into hunting until adulthood, right? Like later in life?
Yeah.
So, I mean, tell me about that. I'm going to ask you about the weightlifting and all that other stuff and the Busch beer, but
Busch beer, you can't beat that.
I mean, I'm from St. Louis and I don't even like Busch beer. I'm a Budweiser guy.
I'll pray for you.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, so how did you come into hunting? Because I bet you we could probably talk for hours and hours about the analogies with like faith and hunting and
there's
scripture
so much
and all
there
that
to
stuff.
unpack. Yeah, growing up, so my family, we didn't hunt. None of us hunted. We grew up on the farm. Like, we'd shoot snakes or something like that, possums or armadillos or whatever. But like, it was more pest control. But it wasn't a lot of active hunting. Growing up, there weren't a whole bunch of deer in the immediate area where I lived. Since just over the last 15 years, deer have slowly moved in. Mm-hmm. But then duck hunting, of course, in the Delta is huge. It was huge, but my family didn't duck hunt. And so I didn't grow up around that, didn't grow up around duck hunting, deer hunting, this sort of hunting. It was after, actually, I became a priest, moved back to Arkansas, that probably 2017 is that's when I got my first deer, little doe, with a 202 yards. I was proud of that, man. That was a big moment.
That's a long shot in Arkansas.
Yeah, right down this long drive, and she came out. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, that first harvest for any hunter is it's like a special moment, and something happened. But as I mentioned earlier, I was in the military and then seminary, so that was around 11, 12 years that I was out of Arkansas. And you don't realize how special home is until you're away from home. And so being out of Arkansas for 12 years just made me fall madly in love with this great state. And then moving back, that's whenever I just fell in love with the state. And then hunting was just a natural way to be in this, and experience the natural state, we could say. So that's one thing, just this desire to come back home and be part of this great state. But then also I'm very introverted. And as a priest, as a minister, as a preacher, I'm with people all day long. And I do well. I work well with people. Can be very charismatic, very animated. Good leader, all right preacher, pretty good preacher. But it zaps me, man. But being an introvert, I can recharge pretty quickly. And hunting is one of those times where I just go out and recharge.
Yeah. No, when you start talking about it, I get it. Like that's something we talk about a lot, like the restorative nature of nature, right? Of being in the woods. It's something I've been focused on a lot recently because, duck hunting is usually a communal activity. And then if I'm running hunts and, I've got clients and whatnot or in the last few years, writers or people filming stuff or whatever, yeah, man, it takes a lot of energy. Like you got to be on. You kind of have to give people the experience that I'm trying to give them. Is like there's a level of vulnerability you have to get comfortable with, so that they can kind of expose themselves and everybody can get what they want out of it. And yeah, it is draining. So, like I went to the Bear Woods the last couple of weeks, or not, whenever it was, early season here, a couple weeks ago, like specifically to be alone, right, and just kind of key into that stuff, like listening to the wind and just like paying attention to reading sign and not have the stress of like you're freaked out because you don't know if the birds are going to fly and you want people to have this right experience, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, man, there's something super restorative about it. And yeah, like the Bible talks about it, and millennia of writers and people writing songs and whatever.
Man, nature really, the restorative aspect is huge, and it gives us a good reset. Being with people all day, anybody. I mean, it's a human relationship. This call and response, opening yourself up, being vulnerable, interacting with somebody else that's opening themselves up and being vulnerable. And there's this constant desire to love the person in front of you, but just it goes over and over that you're not loved the way you want to be loved, and these wounds come up. And even with the best relationship, there's still broken aspects of it. There's things that aren't perfect in the relationship, in the dynamic. And so even the best human relationship will still cost us in one way. And nature it's like almost gives us a baseline for going back for what a relationship looks like. And so what I mean is, like, you go to nature, you got to be vulnerable. You got to respect nature because, if you want to, it's a dance. It'll keep you humble, keep you honest. But when you do your part, very often it unfolds, and it just, gets back for get you to a good baseline.
Yeah. Okay, man. So this is interesting to me. So you go to the military right after high school?
I went to college for a year, and I hated it in Forest City. I went to East Arkansas Community College. Great school, but I went because my mom and grandma made me.
Sure.
And, if mom and grandma ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah.
They made me go to school. And then after a year down there is when I went to the Air Force.
Okay. And then so you said you're 36, so that would have been like early, like what, you graduated with like 04 or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, that means you went to the military when it was stuff's going on.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was, yeah. We,
Did you deploy overseas
I did.
and all that stuff?
Summer of 2007, I was in sunny Iraq.
Okay.
That was exciting.
And then how long did you do in the military?
Right at 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so when I went to high school, they talked a lot about like, you talked about, I think you said the call in, or like you talk about vocation, right? Or like what you're called to do. So is that when in the military is when you started thinking like, man, I think I want to become a priest?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, grew up in this really close family, very tight knit, and so family was a big thing. We were always this big group, this big team, this big community, and it was always, anything that we did was with the family, with the team. When I went to the military, that was my first time to live alone. First time for me to make decisions on my own, and just things like that, just without the family kind of holding my hand and me holding their hand. Mm-hmm. So, I leave, go to the military. I'm out in the big world on my own, and start living, and that's whenever the faith, living with Jesus Christ, like, it wasn't just a family thing that we did together, but it really became a personal thing. And then just out of that came this random idea of priesthood. I'd be working, in the warehouse or on some equipment or whatever, and I would think about being a priest, like God calling me. And then like these random ideas became more coincidental, and before long I realized that they were clear invitations, and it was not just a accident, but it was the Lord inviting me. So that was kind of how that unfolded.
And I'll tell you what's interesting about this to me is and maybe it's the juxtaposition of like what a lot of people think of with with like preachers or ministers or, I'm going to say specifically with Catholicism, because there's there is a difference in understanding of like a priest role within Catholicism versus like a Methodist minister or something, right? There's and you tell me if I'm wrong, right? But I'm gonna bring into light my many years of theology class. But this, or just like the idea of confession, right? Like that, it's not just someone talking about God, but it's, like a priest is supposed to serve as like a direct intermediary between God and people on earth, right? Like that's why like confession works, right? Like that's why you can be a priest they're forgiving you for your sins, like for Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. Or for God. So there's a tremendous amount of power and agency in the position, right? Mm-hmm. And so like with anything, when you have power and agency like that, that can, be a wonderful thing, but with humanity, like we're all flawed, like it can go wrong too. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm specifically talking about is, it's interesting to me that, you kind of became a man, like you're saying, you went to Iraq, right? You've been through a military process. You've been exposed to violence on, some level or another, right? Like the camaraderie of being in a unit, right? Like the rough way that people talk and live, and gallows humor and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, that's I'm more willing to take advice or instruction from somebody that I think has had some experiences, rather than someone who's been completely sequestered. Mm-hmm. Which, when I was telling you about that, like one mean nun I had, I think she was just like completely sequestered from regular life for so long that there was a disconnect. Mm-hmm. But so then, like with the idea of like on your Instagram profile, right? You said that like you curse, right? That just seems like such a human thing to me, mm-hmm. right? Because, and I don't know, maybe some of it is Catholicism too, right? Because like everyone I knew growing up, I mean, everybody drank beer, right? Mm-hmm. Like the priest would drink beer, right? There's, I'm not talking about, there's a difference between just drinking a beer and drunkenness, but mm-hmm. it's just kind of like a part of the culture. Yeah. But I don't know that I've ever heard a priest curse before. Wow. But I was also in academic environments, right? Yeah. I was never like hanging out.
Never in a duck blind with a priest.
No. It was like Father Houlihan.
It was like an Irish guy, but he could drop a couple words.
He was sure, John, sure. Every time I said something like, sure, John, sure. But yeah, so how does that all work out? Like, how do you bring kind of like a fully flawed human existence mm-hmm. To a position of like such spiritual authority?
Yeah, man, life is savage and brutal. I've experienced that personally, and I've experienced God's grace in that brutality. And I have to live and serve from that point of being broken and healed, from being wounded and fixed, from being a sinner and being redeemed. I have to live and love and serve from that point if I expect to meet people in their own savage, brutal lives. Because every human being has stuff going on. I mean, we can live in these whitewashed houses and glass palaces where everything looks good, but man, inside we're all hurting. Like we're all broken. We're all like looking for love. And so I've just experienced that. In my own life, I don't like BS. I don't like. I can do like the political talk or be nice and cordial, stuff like that. I get that, and there's a place for that. We need to do that, but I hate wasted time and idle talk. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of life. And the meat and potatoes is that, like, we all need help. We all need a savior. Yeah, that's the simplest way of understanding the gospel. And if I truly believe in the beauty and the dignity of human life, regardless of who the person is and what they've been through, then getting them the help, the mercy, the grace that they need should be my highest priority, which means I don't want to beat around the bush any more than I got to get to the depth of their soul. And so for me to be with them in the trenches, I can't be afraid to let them know that, hey man, I've been in the trenches too. And you know what? I'm still in these dang trenches. So Shorty, that's Shorty right there. The associate pastor just,
that's a beagle for you right there, man.
So the associate pastor just came in. Hey, man. And so just, loving.
Dude, that associate pastor had skinny jeans on. It's a new Catholic church.
He's
folks.
a hard worker, man. We got to be in the world, but not of it. If I can put it this way, the radical scandal of the gospel, and I mean this in a good, holy, and whole way, the scandal of the gospel is that God became one of us. This God who is beyond everything, who is greater than everything, who made everything, who holds everything in existence, who is beyond time, made the decision to enter into the confines of time and everything associated with that, everything except for sin, from conception to death and beyond, right? That's the story of the gospel. We die and then conquer death, rise again on Sunday. Like, Jesus was pissing people off left and right. The people who thought that he should live up to this particular stereotype. And he said, no, man, love doesn't fit into a box. Love is brutal, but love is so good whenever it's raw and vulnerable and transparent. So Jesus was with the broken people, the wounded people, the worst people by society standard. And so if I want to be an alter Christus, another Christ, if I want to be not just somebody who follows Jesus, but if I truly want to live as Jesus Christ here on earth, I'm not saying I'm Jesus, but like living and continuing the ministry that he started, I need to do what he does and be with the broken people, hurting people, the wounded people. And the only way that they're going to trust me is if they know that, hey, I'm broken and wounded too, and I'm speaking from my own experiences. So that's kind of like the long answer of, yeah, it's not this picture perfect reality that people think, but I found ministry a lot more effective by being who I am with my strengths and weaknesses, my vices and virtues, than trying to put on a facade. That's kind of the long answer.
Yeah. No.
Life is brutal, life is savage, and I've been loved in that, and that's the gospel message. And I want to love other people in their savage and brutal lives. Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, that's I'm with it, dude. That's probably that's probably a lot of people's issue with religion,
mm-hmm.
right? Is this refusal or inability, or just like you said, facade of being a perfect or a better person, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, to me, man, like that's one of the most human things.
Yeah.
It's just, being scared, being flawed, being screwed up, messing up, right? Being afraid that people are going to figure out that you're the fraud, that you're afraid you are, whatever it is, right? But man, dude, I think we could all do with a little bit more of that sense of humility.
Well, speaking from my experience in the Catholic Church, 2,000 years of history, of tradition, I hear constantly like, man, why are you still with that church? Y'all been through some crap. Y'all have done some dumb stuff. Yeah. As a church, we have. It's a divinely instituted institution, or divinely, begun institution. The Lord holds it into existence, but it's a bunch of thugs in it. We're all broken sinners, right? The church is, as the Lord says in Scriptures, is those who are well don't need a doctor, but those who are sick, those are the ones that do. The church is really a field hospital, and we've been through a bunch of stuff, but we've learned through all that stuff, and so whenever we mess up, we don't totally throw everything out and try to put on a facade of being a perfect new institution. We're like, yeah, we goofed there, or messed up here, or this was a weak time in history, whatever. But we've learned, and so kind of limping along is kind of cool. Like, it's like, man, like that. It just, even limping along as a community, for me, is a sign of hope, not discouragement.
And so look, I feel zero need to go into all the issues and problems that everyone's aware of with this Catholic Church, right? Or any church. But I would say, man, that I appreciate that, because ultimately I think the biggest issue that people have had is the facade,
mm-hmm.
right? And so, just being willing to say we're limping along, man, that's an interesting description. Okay, so let's get into a little bit more personal stuff. So I'll tell you what, this is just a question I have. But especially like having been in the military, doing all that stuff before going to seminary, and I bet like one of the number one questions people have about priest is like the no marriage thing, right? But that doesn't mean you weren't a person before, right? So I mean, like, did you ever have a girlfriend before?
Yeah, I had girlfriends. That didn't work out.
yeah, sure. Well, yeah, evidently, yeah.
Luckily I was a pretty good kid growing up. wasn't wild, running around too bad.
But I mean, like, you've kissed a girl before.
Yeah, like in high school.
Yeah, that's a human thing. But see, that's why I'm wondering, man, because that's an incredibly human thing, right?
Yeah, and it's, for those who are listening, I am a Catholic priest. I'm celibate. That means I'm not married. But it also means that even though I'm not married, it doesn't mean I'm running around with women. Make the choice to not be married, but also not be with any women at all. Right? Not in any kind of relationship like that. And I'll be honest, man. There's some times where I'm thinking, geez, Louise, man. Like here I'm at the school. It's like, man, I'm in my mid-30s. I don't have a wife or kids. And part of that hurts, like part of that stings. But I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing because it reminds me of my commitment. I know so many married people, and like it's the same thing. You can be madly in love with your wife, madly in love with your husband, but that doesn't mean you're not going to see somebody else at Walmart and think, wow, she's cute, or wow, he's handsome, That doesn't mean you don't love your wife. Doesn't mean you don't love your husband. Doesn't mean you messed up with what you did. But it's another opportunity for you to say, "No, this is the choice that I freely made," and that's what it's like for me. Like there's reminders every day that I'm celibate. But there's also reminders every day that I freely made this choice, and for me to again to follow the life that Jesus led to the fullest degree, not just as long as it's comfortable. Just enough or just close enough. Like, Lord, I'll do everything with you, but, give me a wife. Like, nah, Lord, if you're calling me to follow you and be you, like, okay, that's everything. And I can't pick and choose. And so I'm going to follow you to the nth degree. Following him, and Jesus wasn't married, so following even in that radical way. And then practically speaking, it gives me, like, I don't have wife and kids to take care of. And so if somebody calls me at 2 a.m. to go to the hospital because their kid was in a wreck, all right, I can go. If I have to cancel my plans, I was supposed to go elk hunting last month, 2-week hunt. I've been planning for 6 months. Had to cancel it. Some things came up the Friday before I was going to leave. I was going to leave Sunday. Man, it hurt. It hurt. But love required me to say, all right, this is my calling. And I hunt to become a better priest. I hunt so that I can love people more. That was a moment whenever the Lord was like, hey, I need you to love these people. Okay, I'll love them.
Man, that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I've seen you on Instagram. I've seen you like reference Cameron Haynes, right? You got the military thing going on, right? It looks like you're doing. I don't know if you're actually doing CrossFit, but I mean you're doing lifts, right? You got bumper plates and all that stuff, right? Yeah. So that actually makes sense to me, man, because you ultimately I think if I'm reading this right, what you're talking about is, you know who Jocko Willink is?
Yeah,
that guy, right?
Awesome, extreme ownership, man.
Yeah, and he talks about that. That like discipline is freedom, right? I mean that would make sense to me. Like you're talking about a life of discipline. That makes sense that you would be lifting weights, right? That's a form of discipline, right? Like bow hunting, kind of choosing a harder way to hunt. There's discipline involved in that. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that really does. That makes sense to me. It seems like it would work together.
It can be terribly intimidating, this aspect of discipline, which is very lacking in the world today. I mean, I think you and I and other people who are in their mid-30s, late 30s right now, like we were lucky enough to be on the tail end of like just an era where we knew what it meant to obey. We knew what discipline was. We knew what it meant to respect your elders. And it's getting harder and harder to find kids who live that out right now. And this aspect of discipline is like, it's a reminder that, it's a reminder of the need to make distinctions between needs and wants, and how there's going to be plenty of times when you're going to have to do stuff that you don't want to do, but you got to do. One of the reasons I love working out or choosing to hunt in a harder way or pushing myself to the physical limits, even emotional, psychological limits, is because it reminds me that I'm not in control. And the better I can get at freely choosing to suffer a little bit, makes it easier for me to suffer in the moments that I don't choose. So whenever I get that call, for example, at 2 a.m. to go to the hospital or to cancel a hunt that I've been planning for half a year, man, that sucks. But I don't get the choice. Like, okay, I'm going to suffer. But I'm not afraid to suffer because I've intentionally built that tolerance of suffering by freely choosing to do it when it's in my control. So that when it's out of my control, okay. So it could be something as small as making my bed every morning, folding clothes. I hate folding clothes. And I'm guilty. Like, I'm just one person, don't have kids, no wife. I can't believe how much laundry I've got to fold. It never ends. So for people with wives, husbands, kids, God bless them. But like, here's an interesting story. Before I moved here, I was at the other church in Batesville, and I would always keep my laundry in the recliner because I'm like, I'm not going to fold it. I'm going to wear it again within a day or two. So why spend time folding it, putting it away? Did that for a while, So I had some clothes there in the recliner, just kept it there. And I was walking through the living room one day, and the Lord stopped me and just spoke like so clearly. And I just heard with the ears of my heart, he said, man, how do you expect to take care of the souls in your church if you can't fold the clothes in that chair? I said, man, okay, that really hit me. Just something as simple as having the discipline to fold some T-shirts. Like the Lord used that to say, like, folding clothes right here is going to help you save souls out there. So doing the little bitty things, intentionally choosing to suffer, helps us to love more in life. So discipline definitely gives you freedom.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I talk a lot about on this podcast. Is like this idea of building up resiliency in your life, right? And so, like I kind of told you when we were texting earlier, like the whole point of this podcast is finding people that I think are interesting, that are kind of shorthand be like blazing their own path or something, right? And maybe at first glance, someone joining a 2,000-year-old institution might not seem like blazing your own path, but everything you're talking about is the same stuff that everybody else that I talk to is talking about, right? Like, now it's different the way people do it, but it's that idea of instituting some discipline in your life, right? Like, and I'm not talking about like the idea of self-flagellation, but just whether it's like we talk a lot about like the blue collar work ethic, right? Like if it's just you've been outside in the heat in Arkansas roofing houses or digging ditches or something, right? Like that lends itself to toughness in another way, right? Or just seeing death, right? Yeah. And not just death like in the polished. Like we know, a lot of people. I bet a lot of people in America, like the only time they've ever seen a dead person is, after they've, gone through a process and they've been kind of preserved and it's like in an open casket, right? That's very different. And I've done stuff in my life where, I've like had people die and I've had my hands on them and seen them die lots of different ways. And as effed up as that is, I don't want to say that. I want to say effed up because I'm talking to a priest. But as effed up as that is,
it is.
It does make you appreciate living a lot more, right? Because you get an idea of how fragile we ultimately are, right? And how just like little weird decisions can impact your existence or the people around you or other people's seemingly inconsequential decisions can do that and affect somebody and the rest of somebody's life, right?
Man, consequences have effects, or effects have consequences. Actions have consequences. The things we do have consequences, even to the point of death. Two things that like come to mind as you're talking about that. First of all, the trailblazers is one thing, and then also this aspect of death. In my room, I've got an artificial human skull right there, right in the middle. Not in the middle of my room, but like on my shelf. I see it every day. And there's an ancient tradition in the Catholic Church of memento mori. Remember your death. Remember that you're going to die. You've got a clock that's ticking, and it has a definite end for the corporeal life. So the spiritual life, we believe lives on. So that there's consequences for the way we live this life now. But there's going to come a time whenever, like, what we've done. We can't undo it. And then we can't justify why we did it. It's just a matter of saying, this is what it was. Memento mori, seeing that skull every day. When you remember that you're going to die, and that's always like kind of in the front of your mind, not in a terribly macabre way or just like a morbid way, but a way of like, man, it's sobering. And it makes you think about priorities and making decisions. You make decisions in different ways, and you prioritize your things differently. Whenever you think, my time is limited. My family's time is limited. I could be a total jerk to my mom. The person I love the most and the one who loves me more than anyone else. Just like, I can be a jerk to her. But then, like, I'll think, dude, I could have a wreck and die. She could have a wreck and die. And do I want that on my heart, that the last thing I did was disrespectful? I was disrespectful to my mom? Like, no. Like, man, okay. Hey, Mom, call her up. Sorry, I was a jerk, whatever. Sorry I was an ass to you, whatever it is. But the point I'm getting at is, like, it helps me to do the things that I may not want to do. Like, I don't want to say I'm sorry because that affects my ego, my pride. But I got to get over that. Like, yeah. So, memento mori, remembering that you're going to die at a time that you're not planning is helps you live a better life. So that's one thing. Memento mori. Death is it's savage, but God can work through it in amazing ways, and so it can be a very beautiful thing. It can be a very beautiful thing. The second thing, going back to the trailblazing stuff, this is very Jesuit, actually. St. Ignatius of Loyola had this phrase, Agi quod agis. I got it tattooed on my arm. Agi quod agis. And it means, do what you're doing. The deeper understanding is like, whatever you're doing, give it 100%. And I would argue that all the people that you've talked to, and some great interviews, by the way, would be, it may seem like they're all doing the same thing, but because in a way what they're doing is giving life their 100%. And I think if you were to step back, all the people that you'd be interested in, that any of us would be most interested in, are the people that are all in. I don't care what you're doing. Like, if you're all in, I can support that, I can back that, and I'll be interested in that. So, memento mori and agi quod agis, that's people's Latin lesson for the day from the priest. But yeah, remember your death. It's going to help you live better. And agi quod agis, do what you're doing. Be all in. Don't half-ass it.
Man, I'm thinking about all sorts of stuff here. Here's completely unrelated. There's like a little BMX mongoose. Whose is that?
No, actually, we had our big parish fair, and that was part of the raffle. And so the people are coming by to pick up their stuff. So that's a little kid from the church.
Oh man, I wanted one of y'all to be out here just like grinding rails and stuff.
I do have a skateboard though, and I'm learning how to skateboard.
Dude, you better be careful with that, man. Bones break a lot easier.
I know. I'm scared.
Dude, that skateboard, I did some rough stuff in my life, but that skateboard and stuff, and I was always too afraid. I remember I sold, I remember what this thing was called, but I sold like wrapping paper and just whatever until I got enough points to get a prize, and I got this old skateboard, and man, I got on that thing one time and never got on it again. Who's playing that guitar over there?
That's my guitar. Oh.
It's like a metal guitar. Was that, Jackson or something?
No, Court is the name of it. No, I don't even know the brand, or they just a brand. I've never heard of it before other than that one. Got that back in high school. Yeah, but man, about to say, it looks like that's definitely an electric guitar that's like more suited towards like playing metal and. Yeah, it's got built-in effects. I'm not a big metal guy, but it's got a good warm sound. Like, good sounds. Is
it a MIDI guitar? MIDI.
Oh, no.
No. Okay. Hey, Brian will understand that. He's got a degree in sound engineering. Man, so what's the majority? Let's get back to a little bit of hunting. What's the majority of your hunting center around?
Big game, primarily whitetail. Here in Arkansas, we get 6 tags, and I try to fill all of them.
Do you really?
Yeah, I have for the last few years. I do a lot of doe hunting. I got a lot of friends who have private property. Big bucks are cool. But, man, there's something fun about just chasing does that are just keyed up and snorting and blowing and just pissing you off every time they come in.
They're harder to kill.
Oh, they're frustrating. I was on some just Monday morning. oh, I said bad words to him. But yeah, so I really enjoyed doe hunting. And also I understand the conservation aspect of it. So it's not beyond my ego to say, a big buck would be cool, but I know we got a ton of does that in this state. We got a ton of deer. And we got to take out some does. So they eat just as good too. You can't eat the horns. So
yeah, and that big buck stuff, man, there's some ego involved in it, right? Like the pursuit of it oftentimes.
Yeah. There's a good analogy there for life. It's easier to brag about doing the big stuff and failing, because then who would judge you if you fail on the big stuff? Mm-hmm. Because if you say you tried something easier and you fail at it, they're going to think you're a loser. For example, like if I say, man, I didn't make my bed this morning or fold my clothes, you'd say like, dude, you're a loser. But if I say, I tried to build a whole house in one day and I didn't get it done, they were like, oh, wow, well, you tried. Yeah, well, it's unrealistic. But, and so there's some ego, I think, definitely in that of it gives us an excuse for failure. Whereas if we do the thing that is quote unquote easier, or that there's more of a surplus of, there's a ton of does out there. You'll see them pretty much every time you go hunting, depending on where you go most of the time. I don't think you're going to get one. And, so it keeps you humble. But yeah, ton of that. I just recently got into, a few years ago, elk hunting. Been out a few times. I'm actually going to head out Sunday. God willing, that's the plan for my 4th year. Hopefully I'll get one this year. That's been fun. That's just a grind, hunting out there, Colorado backcountry.
You hunt in public land in Colorado?
Yeah.
That's hard for elk, man. Everybody and their mama wants it's easy to get a Colorado elk tag from out of state, but man, everybody goes there.
Savage, man. Those animals are pressured. They're smart. You got to cover the ground. You got to be in top physical condition, which is why I train. I train to hunt. And we've seen elk every year. The group I was supposed to go out with in September, one of my buddies got one, and it's tough. I mean, those animals are smart. They're quiet.
Yeah, they can smell. I killed a late season elk in January in Utah, and yeah, you watch them catch that wind, man, and it's like you ain't catching them then, man. Yeah. They smell you, and they're 300 yards away, and it's real different than hunting. Hunting out west is really different than hunting in Arkansas, and I've talked about this a little bit, but I mean, even probably as recently as like a year and a half ago or something, I kind of wrote us. I mean, I don't know that it came off that way, but it probably did before the edit. Like the editor made me edit some stuff on it, because I think there was some smarminess in it about Western hunters, right? Because I had this idea that people around here were maybe more legitimate hunters because, you can kind of be like an old redneck and like pan fish and hunt deer and trap beavers and do all this stuff year round, right? And out west, it's, people maybe have 10 days or something, right? But after I got up in the mountains and just got the absolute hell kicked out of me, it's a different enterprise, right? Like it's physical exertion in a way that you can't get, the vast majority of people that call themselves deer hunters here, I mean, they wouldn't make it an hour trying to hump up one of those mountains in like thin air, having to move fast. Man, it's a totally different enterprise. And I kind of get why someone has to train all year long to expend that energy. It's like the difference between being a sprinter and a cross country person, right?
Yeah. You can fake yourself, you can fake it into a stand, hunting whitetails. I mean, there's still a hunting aspect to it, but hunting hiking 10 to 15 miles through the mountain backcountry, I mean, you can't fake that. Either you're going to do it or you're not. And so that's savage. So something that a new thing I've really recently gotten into is exotic hunting down in Texas, which is a whole nother form of hunting. Kind of like you were mentioning with Western hunting. I had this whole concept of hunting these big ranches for like axis deer down in Texas. And I was like, that ain't hunting at all. But it's a total different kind of hunting. And after doing it a couple of times, like I've gained a respect for that as a form of hunting, as one form among many of hunting. That's that'd be a whole other conversation in itself. But when you're going after a very specific animal and having that discipline to let all these others walk while you're waiting for the one, and it's unique. So that's another kind of hunting. But there's so many different ways to hunt in this great country.
Yeah, and that is a thing. You can do it lots of different ways. Like if you want it to just be a brutal suck fest, and give yourself a very, very hard to reach goal, you can make it that, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to just fill your freezer, you live in Arkansas and you say to yourself, man, I don't want to buy ground beef at Walmart. I want to kill 6 deer a year and grind them up. And, my example is always Hamburger Helper or whatever. You can totally do that.
Sloppy Joes. I do that also.
You do that?
Yeah, Sloppy Joes.
Yeah. It's man, and it's, and I do like a lot of cooking and stuff. And it's one of the things that I get it because lots of people want to, especially with cooking, they want it to be like aspirational. But it doesn't have to be, right? It can just be super simple and comforting and familiar. And it's, if you bring it to the fact that you're dealing something that hasn't been processed, if you bring it to the fact that you've got the story of how it came, like there's levels to that, right? You want to talk about like, we'll get to the religion stuff. Like you want to talk about like filling your soul, right? Like it'll do that on lots of different levels, right? Yeah, man. So I'm all for it. And as I've gotten older, I've just removed, I've just been humbled so much that I don't feel like everybody has to do things the way that I do it for it to be appropriate, right? Because I don't do stuff the same way that I did it, however many years ago.
Yeah, I think it's important to be involved in the process of whatever you're doing in life. I don't care what you're doing. If you're a CEO of a business, fantastic, great, congrats, for having that great position. But don't forget how to do the lowliest job in your office. If you're eating food, fantastic, great, but don't think you're beyond the process of acquiring that food. So, whatever you got to do to participate in one way or another to acquire that food, I think it's good. It gives you definitely a different perspective of the food. For example, hunting. Like, I'm definitely more grateful for food that I hunt. I'm less likely to waste it, to throw it out, or let it go bad in the fridge. I'm like, man, because that blood is on my hand, which takes it back to the harvest aspect. Every time I harvest an animal, it hurts, man. Like, it's so fun, but every time, like when you walk up to that animal, like, you're excited because you got one, but you see that thing's eye. You still feel the warmth of its body, and you think, gosh, I'm a monster. Like, I made a free conscious choice to end this thing's life. But it's for a greater good. It's for the sake of another being living a fuller life. And so that's the heart of sacrifice. That's at the heart of love. Love should hurt because it should cost you something. And what and that gives you life in return. Hunting does that. It's as soon as a hunter loses that aspect of, as soon as they don't feel that pinch or that sting whenever they kill an animal, I think they need to take a break or something, or slow down a little bit. That's in my opinion, because it is a very sacred moment. And I can see, the more I hunt, I see so clearly how the Native Americans, and how and why they honored and even worshiped creation the way that they did. And there's just something of, I think it was Randy Newberg who was talking about it. I'm sure others have said it too, but like, if I don't remember how he said it, something along the lines of like, for me to live, blood has to be shed, and I want that blood on my hands if it's going to be for the sake of me living. And so, yeah, to bring it on back to the food, it doesn't have to be extravagant or elegant, but I think just being connected to the process really makes it more valuable.
Yeah, and I would actually even say that cooking is part of that too, right? Like that. That's something, just in a basic form, that's something that everybody should do. And I've seen people that kind of wear it like a badge of honor in their sleeve. Oh man, I can't cook anything. I eat all my meals out. Like, man, beyond that, it's probably not that fiscally responsible to do that. Beyond the fact that, you're not controlling what goes into it. There's other stuff that comes from that. There's other stuff that, there's meditation and just taking time, right? Like that whole idea of why did grandma's food taste so good? Because of love, right? Yeah. Now you call that love or intention or whatever. But there's an aspect of self that goes into that. And I get it, man. I'm huge on that with my kids, right? Like, if it's something that I killed, like this bear that I killed, right? Like, I don't really care if you eat all the Brussels sprouts, but like you're eating this bear meat, right? And I think I'm hoping that it lends itself towards a greater appreciation of like some aspect of the human condition for them, right? Like same way that I like them going and getting the eggs every few days out of the coop, right? Or like picking peppers, like just have some connection to where it comes from. And it's something that I struggle with actually a lot is remembering and kind of forcing myself to exert effort, because it's so easy to get food, right? You're just driving down the road and you're like, I get this or that. That we're kind of designed to exert effort to like feed ourselves, right? You know, and I'm sure, take that further, right? Like physically, spiritually, all that stuff, like what you're talking about. Man, I know you've got a meeting you got to go to, so we'll just wrap this up in a couple minutes here. But I'll tell you actually what I was just thinking about, and to reference, just like the struggles of being human. I'll tell you what I think. I think just doing this conversation with you, what I think would actually be a struggle to work out that you should pay attention to, man, is like fame. I think you could have a huge presence talking about stuff like this. I mean, I'm finding myself inspired, right? Like you could, I mean, it'd be pretty easy for you to have like a huge following of people, which would, hey man, that's a good thing, right? If you're trying to spread your message, like that could be a really good thing, but, it's weird and something I struggle with. When people listen to what you say, that's a weird, scary thing. I don't know why I'm like giving you advice like I have any authority to, but I just thought about that. I was like, man, this dude could be, you're doing cool, hard stuff, man. Like you could be a Jocko or a David Goggins or something, right? Especially with the street cred, right? Yeah. Of like, you've been in a war, or I was just thinking that like, man, I bet this dude could get permission to hunt anywhere. Who's going to tell a priest they can't come and hunt, man?
Yeah, I try not to abuse that, man. Going back to like the doe hunting, people do give me access, but I don't want to take their big deers that they're saving for their kids or whatever. But hey, I'm gonna hunt that dog if you don't quit barking, Shorty, knucklehead. Man, thanks for sharing that. You definitely got every authority to share that with me, and that's I tell that to my people all the time, like. Man, if you see something that I'm screwing up or something that I should do differently or something I should focus on, tell me. Like, I want to be a better human being, and I'm not beyond critique. I'm not beyond criticism. I enjoy that. Actually, I prefer to hear that more than everyone say, always fantastic job. Like, it sucks to get punched in the gut, but it's good. Like, because it makes me better.
Well, man, please understand, I'm not critiquing you.
No, I didn't think that at all. But like what I'm saying is like, there's a big weight that goes with being heard by people. And grass looks greener on the other side. It always looks greener on the other side. But when people listen to you, like, if you truly take that seriously, that should stress you out. Like it should be a burden, because words have consequences, and the things that we say can change completely somebody's life, and that's a serious thing for the good and for the bad. We can be total monsters. We can just be jerks to people, and that can ruin somebody's day. We can be good to people, and that can change their day. But the Lord gives us all different talents in different ways, and if we use those talents and don't bury them, like. That's when we're, that's when we're living to the fullest. And two things I just try to focus on so much, and it keeps me grounded, is gratitude and generosity. Just gratitude and generosity. I try to be grateful to so many people, and just gratitude and just generosity. I try to say yes as much as I can. It burns me out. I probably say yes more than I should, but I just try to do as much as I can for people. Gratitude and generosity. But yeah, man. It was fun. I enjoyed this little chat.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. I'll let you get to your meeting, but if people want to keep up with what you're doing, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, probably Instagram. That's really all I got now. All spelled out, Father Stephen J. Gadberry. Father Stephen J. Gadberry. There's a couple fake pages out there. It's kind of frustrating, but so Father Stephen J. Gadberry. You'll notice, you'll see it's me, the photos and stuff. But yeah, that's where they can check me out, shoot me a message, and always try to connect with people there.
And then, are you over here on Sundays?
Yeah, we got 5 services on Sunday, 1 Saturday night, and then 5 throughout the week here at St. Teresa's Catholic Church down on Baseline, 6219 Baseline Road in Little Rock, Arkansas, down in South Little Rock.
Are you doing services in Spanish and English?
Spanish and English, yeah.
You got any Latin Mass left?
No Latin Masses here, but we still use some Latin.
Yeah. Anyway, well, hey, man, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jonathan. Enjoyed it, man. God bless.
Thank you so much for listening all the way through to this episode of the Black Duck Revival podcast. As always, it's produced by me, Jonathan Wilkins, and my dear friend, Brian Sachs. First off, let me thank folks for leaving reviews. I've been seeing more and more reviews pop up about the podcast. People really seem to be enjoying it, and really, I deeply appreciate you taking the time out of your day to give it a 5-star review, and even more so to just write a few sentences about what you like and about what you get out of the podcast. That's hugely rewarding for me. If you want to keep up with what's going on, you can always follow me on Instagram. That handles Black Duck Revival. You can check out the website. That is blackduckrevival.com. And also, I got called out when I did somebody else's podcast a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to address it. And it was they kind of called me out about going dark as far as like responding to emails or Instagram DMs. And so, full disclosure, yeah, I'm bad at that. And it was a good kick in the pants to get called out for it, because I totally understand how it can be perceived as being rude. Absolutely not my intention at all. If I have kind of just been really terrible about getting back to you or getting sidetracked and maybe not responding at all, I apologize. I'm just bad at it. And if you really want to get a hold of me, the best way to do that, as old school as this sound, is give me a phone call. Because I can take a phone call while I'm doing other stuff, and it's still hard for me to sit down and type out responses for whatever reason. It just takes a lot of mental effort on my part, and it kind of stresses me out. And so sometimes I avoid it until some other stuff comes up, and then I lose track of things, or then I'm like stressed out about I didn't respond when I should have, and so then I keep putting it off or whatever. I'm telling you all my personal business here, but I did want to acknowledge that that's something I'm bad at, and I'm aware that I'm not good at it, and I'm going to put serious effort into being better at it. So that being said, if you want to, you can send me an email or send me a DM or send me a text message or give me a call. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you about stuff. I got approached by someone who wanted me to come out to their place and do kind of a private class for them and their family. And I hope that works out, and I'd love to do that for more of you. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're here local in Arkansas, or have bus or have van, will travel, I'll come to wherever you're at. It can be for your hunt club. It can be for your organization, your friends and family. We can put something custom together for you. We can talk about the history of African American hunters. We can talk about whole animal processing. We can break down a deer. We can break down a goat. We can break down birds. We can do cooking instruction. We can do all that fun stuff. We can make sausage, hang out. We can really kind of customize it to whatever you want. So if you're interested in that, give me a holler. Thank you so much for listening. If you have not done so yet, please take a minute to leave a 5-star review if you think we deserve it, and a written review. That helps tremendously. It gets more eyes on the podcast. Thanks to everybody. See you next time.